I'm going to show you how to set up the second generation access controller on DSS Pro V8. So first thing we need to do is go to settings here, go to device, and then you can search for the device at the bottom here, click refresh. Sometimes it doesn't show up, and that's okay as long as you know it's on the network, which I do via the config tool here. It's already been initialized. If you haven't initialized the access controller, make sure that you do that first. So to add it manually, press the add button at the top here, choose the add mode, set it via IP address if it's on the same network. Make sure you choose the device category as access control, and then put in the IP address of the device. And then make sure you put in the username and password, and then click add. Then it should try to connect to the access controller. It may take a few seconds or so. If it connects successfully, it'll go to the next page. Otherwise, it'll show an error. Connected successfully, so now we just name it. I'm just going to use the device model number. It shows it's a second generation access controller with 4 channels. Make sure that you set the time zone to the correct time zone for where you are. I'm Pacific time, so I'll click OK there, and then it will add the device. At first it'll show it as offline, and it'll say it's logging in. You need to click the refresh button at the top here until it says that it's online. It may take a few seconds until that happens, but once it connects and you hit refresh, it will go online and show green dot. So now that it's added, we're going to create a user. We'll go back to the home screen, go to the person and vehicle info section, go to the person list here. I already have a person list called all persons. If you want to create a new one, you press plus there. I'm just going to add it to that. Press add at the top here to create a new user. Each user needs a unique ID. This one's auto-generated. I'm just going to keep that one. I'm going to name this user test. And then you can fill in any other info that you want to. But in this tutorial, we're just going to add a card. So to do that, click the arrows to the right of authentication info. Make sure the validity period is correct from at least now until when you want them to no longer have access. By default, it's the beginning of the current day until 10 years later. So to add the card, we need to scan it in. You can either use a USB card issuer or the access controller itself. In this case, I'm going to use the access controller itself. So just select the device you're scanning it in with, press the gear here next to card, select the type as device for access controller, and then under device, select the access controller you're scanning in with, expand it. I'm going to scan it into the first door, so I press the arrow next to channel 1 and select reader 1, click OK, and then to add the card, press plus, and then once this is showing here, you can just scan the card in. It will show the card number there. Then you click the check mark to save that. Once it's saved, it'll show here. If you need to remove it, you can click delete there, or change it, press that button. Once it's added, you click OK at the bottom. Now I've created that user with that card. So now I need to create a door list. So I go back to the home screen and I go to access control, go to door groups, press the plus button at the top here, and I'm going to create a door group. I'm going to call this one all doors, and I'm going to select the access controller here, and I'm going to select all doors. You can set the time template here. By default, it's 24/7, but otherwise you can change it to any sets of times for any day of the week. And this is basically when people can scan their card in or type in their code to get access. Otherwise, any times out of that, they can't. So I'm just going to click add at the bottom to create that door group with all doors for all time period. And then I'm going to need to make an access permission group. So you click the access permission group there, press add at the top. I'm just going to call this staff. And then I add the door group to it. And I'm going to select the one that I created before called all doors, click OK. And I click OK at the bottom there. And now that door group has been added to that access permission group. So now I just need to add the user. If you're creating a new user, you can press this button, but because I already created the user, I just press select from person list. To select a whole list of people, you can do this section here, but I'm going to do that individual person. So I click add by person, check the box next to that one individual person, click OK, and that person has been added. Then now that I've added that person with that permission, it'll be pushed to the access controller. You should see at the top here that it'll be pushing it to it. If it doesn't, it should do it within a minute or so. So once you added the permission for that person, we're going to check to see that they have access. So we can close out of here, and we go to the home screen again. This time we're going to applications, and we're going to open access management. So here under access control and access control console, where you can see when people swipe in or use their password. So I'm going to look at just this one access controller by highlighting it here, and then I'm going to scan my card in, and it should show right there a valid swipe happened. That was on door 1. Now I'm going to do door 2, and you'll see door 2 now has a valid swipe as well. So now, just to show as an example, I'm going to change the time template so that I don't have access right now. So I'm going to go back to home, settings, access control, door group, and I'm going to modify that. And instead of all time, I'm going to do the weekend one, and it's a weekday, so I shouldn't have access. I click save. So we're going to go back to access management, scan my card again. And there, yeah, it did push because there's a period error there, meaning that it's not valid because it's outside of the correct period. Now, let's say you wanted to see all of the card scans or codes entered in during a specific time period. We can do that under the access control records. Click that here, and then you'll see the access controller here. I'm going to choose all doors, and then you choose the time period. So you click the little calendar there. Start time will be today at the beginning, end time today at the end. You can change these, type in the times there, and then click OK. You can search by a specific card number or ID or person name, but I'm just going to search everything, so I leave those blank, and I'm do all persons group and click search, and there you go. There's all of the records from today.